I'm going to dispense with a lot of the platitudes and get right into it and pick up where Councilmember Friedson kind of left off. So I'll ask a question. Does anyone on this panel think that it's safe for a person to stand in our median for long periods of time and put themselves at risk?
Can I just mention that there are a lot of places where people have to stand in the median because there's no pedestrian refuge island when they're, I mean, I know what you're getting at, which is
Right.
not that,
Right.
but the
Yes.
reality is.
And thank you for that, Christy. Absolutely. But I'm talking about for hours on end. Does anyone feel as though that's safe? But yet we allow our homeless, or those who say that they're homeless, via the policies that we've enacted both locally and state, to continue to allow people who we say are some of our most vulnerable to sit in those positions hour upon hour. And we've had a death, Richard Lee Cooper in Germantown, Maryland, who was homeless, who was a panhandler, who is on our heads because we allowed him to stay out there under the auspices of saying, well, we want to be fair and we want to be socially woke when it comes to not forcing people to not be able to panhandle. Well, if we're going to get serious about Vision Zero, if we're going to say that we're protecting everyone, everyone means everyone. It means that our homeless and the people who are disparaged, who are looking for a hand up or a handout, need to also be protected. That's the reality. It doesn't just stop with those who we know. It doesn't just stop with those who go to a great school. It doesn't just stop with those that are children. It goes to everyone. So if we're going to be serious about it, let's be serious about it and stop playing around and actually start doing something about this. I want to do one last thing. Assistant Chief Didone, when it comes to police enforcement, has the county executive, either in this past budget or in previous budgets, significantly enhanced the budget for traffic enforcement?
Short answer, no.
That's what I thought. And so from that perspective, if, again, we're going to be serious about talking about traffic and enforcement and enhancing all the things, Christy, to answer your question about whether or not the money is enough, heck no, it's not enough. It's not enough because we don't even give our police the additional money to do the enforcement that folks up here are asking for. But yet at the same time, we're asking to do all the other things in the community that we need in terms of protecting our public safety on all the other realms. So where do we expect it to come from? Right? And so I just want to say that, again, if we're going to be real about this, let's make sure we put the budget behind it and put the appropriate resources there to make it happen so that we can do the traffic enforcement that's necessary. I will say one last thing, and that's to you, Mr. Smith, because I'm going to try and adhere to the council president's timing. Your folks have been incredibly receptive to my office, so thank you. When it comes to some of the issues that have happened all the way dating back to the death of Christina Morris Ward in Germantown and changing that intersection to the students that got hit at Kingsview Middle School and changing that intersection to then being proactive so that someone wouldn't get hit on Great Seneca and actually mowing some of those areas and trimming trees that were protruding into the sidewalks because of budget cuts that were reduced in terms of the actual timing in which we do that, probably prevented some other folks who I saw personally, and who even when folks went out to observe, saw people walking into the street, like you saw, Christy, with the person who was in the wheelchair, who then reared into the street because they couldn't travel on the sidewalk. These things happen for other reasons besides just engineering. So we have to remember that as well. The budget cuts and the things that we do, that we as the county and the state allow brush to be overgrown in areas so that people can't see and actually pull out into crosswalks, which then block the ability for people who can actually go through the crosswalks and have to then walk into the street. These are all things that, again, are affecting the efficacy of Vision Zero. So we have to be real about this as well. In thinking beyond just the engineering, that's certainly a part of it. I agree with Councilmember Friedson wholeheartedly, but there's practice. The practice that we do each and every day that also goes into this, And again, if we're going to be serious about this, like I've seen us be serious about affecting our homeless population and what we've been able to do when it comes to veterans zero and getting to functional zero when it comes to veterans homelessness and almost, when it comes to chronic homelessness, if we're going to be serious about it, we've got to have this multi-pronged approach. And a lot of it's got to be education as well, education on both sides, because I'll close with this. Honoring Christina Ward's memory and her mother's advocacy for pedestrian safety and pedestrian awareness, right? The reality is, that's right, you don't have to and never should have to wear light colors or carry a reflector or anything like that to be safe. You shouldn't have to. But we know the reality. I know the reality because I teach my daughters every day that walk. The reality is that unfortunately some people are not paying attention. Unfortunately, some people are distracted. Unfortunately, some people are speeding. People are doing the wrong things and will continue to do the wrong things. We cannot enforce ourselves out of it. And that's where the education piece comes in. So for anyone who wants to pretend that we don't have to do that other part, that we shouldn't do that other part, it's a key and integral part, and it saved one of my daughters from either being severely injured or killed right in front of my face. We've got to do the education piece as well. Thank you, Mr. President.